Hey, Dan.
Oh, wow. I thought you were going in like super slow motion there for a second. That was pretty cool. All right. I thought we were glitching out already. That would have been terrible. We just got started. Well, hey, everybody. How are you guys? And welcome to another Votacall One webinar series production here. I am Dan, Director of our Sales Engineering, although I do wear many hats. And Kyle.
I'm Kyle. I'm a project manager of Votacall. I onboard brand new customers, which I see a lot of you here with us today. So thanks for joining.
And yeah, I mean, I actually see, I say this a lot, but it's true because I do meet a lot of you guys. So over the time, but I see some very old faces out there today. So hey, Jim, how are you? Um, it's welcome to our webinar. Today we're going to take a look at, we did this probably about a year and a half ago. We thought it was time for a little bit of a refresh. There are a few new features that are available to you guys. But this is our Votacall portal overview for managers and supervisors. Excuse me. I felt that coming. I couldn't stop it. All right. So what are we going to take a look at today? I guess before we jump into that, and while we give everybody a minute or so, because I see 3 or 4 more people have jumped in since we started talking here, we will do what we always do, which is to run through a little bit of housekeeping. So down on the bottom, you'll see under apps, if they're there, or you may see them all depending on how your screen is laid out, but we have links. And inside of the links, you can access links to the My Votacall portal, to our webinars, our previously recorded webinars. As soon as this one is done, or after tomorrow's actually, we will put up our recording of the webinar and have that up and available for you guys. You can also, a link to support is in there. Our training library is in there, as well as our customer love page, a page that I'm a big fan of, and we would love for anybody. As a matter of fact, Jim, I can't believe you're not on our customer love page. We'll have to talk about that. Kyle Kyle posted a link for our LinkedIn page, and if you haven't gone over there, we are constantly just writing little blogs and blurbs for folks. Our COO Andy handles that stuff. Although a few of us do dabble every now and then, but only if he's on vacation. So, and then a link to our sentiment analysis page as well. So sentiment analysis is something we rolled out recently. We will touch on it a little bit today. Looking forward to showing you guys that as well. Also in there, you'll see polls where there's some questions in there for you guys. What topics would you like us to cover? So if you want to submit, there is a questions tab, which a few of you have found. And there is a question in there about not being able to hear me. I hope that's not true. But if I can get a little thumbs up, there's an emoji thing down at the bottom there. If you guys can hear me, then that would be wonderful. Don't forget, any question that you put in there can only be seen by Kyle and I. So ask as many questions as you want to ask. As silly as you may think they might be, remember that there are no silly questions, really. If you're thinking it, somebody else is probably thinking it, and we'd love to hear it. And then, so that's great. So Bonnie, good to hear. Again, thank you for being here. Again, so we'll get moving now. So what are we going to take a look at today? We're going to do a portal overview, and we're going to discuss the feature, some tips and tricks as we go through this, some things that maybe you didn't know you could do, some things that are available to you, resources and training materials, but what specifically falls under managers and supervisors. Well, you've got your agent and queue management. And remember, when we talk about a queue or an agent, think of a queue as any group of phones that rings some specific way, right? They might all ring at once. They might ring in a specific order. They may ring, three people and then move to the next 3 people. There's all sorts of different ways that we can make calls ring. So if you're unhappy with the way your calls are ringing now, 24/7, 365 support. You can always reach out to us. It's in that links tab. We'll show you some other places where you can reach it as well. We're happy to make any changes that you want. And think of an agent as anybody who's in one of those groups, right? So people might call queues hug groups. People might call queues ring groups. People might call queues. Some people call queues call center. And so we'll also be reviewing agent queues and statistics and things that you can see within those queues, queue entrance and comfort messages. So again, we do support actual queuing. So call doesn't just have to ring. We can actually stack some phone calls, and we're going to show you a call being stacked today. call reporting, which are going to be tied into those agent and queue statistics, live call monitoring and coaching. Kyle will be showing you that. Call notes and disposition codes, and I will be showing you that. Call recording and playback. So, as we jump in and taking a look at that, and then some of the enhanced call recording and playback that we have right below that is sentiment analysis, and we will touch on that again. Remember, we did a whole webinar on that, so we're not going to do a deep dive on that today because it did take up the whole 30 minutes last time. And then vision analytics boards, which are wall boards for those of you guys who are more of a traditional call center, or for some of you folks who just want to be able to provide the C-suite or the bosses somewhere they can go and just look at stats without having to pull reports or get emailed reports, etc. And as it says, and much more. So Kyle is going to start you with the portal. And so where are we going to go? The same place that we always go. The myvotacall.com portal. The Votacall One solution has a lot of options within the My Votacall portal, depending on what your role is within the organization. So remember, if we start seeing things today that you say, oh, that would be great if I could see that, but I can't see it, it means that your role doesn't support that currently. And so you just want to reach out to support again and touch base with them. But Kyle, I believe this is where you take over. So I'm going to go ahead and let you do that.
Sounds good. All right, I'll share my screen, put this right up on here. So as Dan was just mentioning, there's different roles that give you different access to the portal. So there's the office manager / admin level, then you have the manager supervisor level, then you have the basic end user level, which is just access to your own extension. So every user that has an extension on the system can access their extension in the portal as well. So as a manager supervisor, once you log into the portal, you're going to land at that supervisor manager level. To go to your personal extension level, you'll click your name in the upper right corner, go to my account, and that brings you just to your personal extension settings. We're going to cover the end user portal in a different webinar. We have an older one. We're going to redo it here shortly. But to get back to the supervisor manager level, we're going to click manage call center, and you're going to see we're right back here. So once you're in here, you're going to land on the call center tab. So you're going to see any of the call queues, ring groups, hunt groups that you're a manager or supervisor of. So you'll see here on customer service 1 and 2. If there are any active calls in those queues, I would see how many are here. I could see how many callers are waiting, how long they've been waiting, and how many agents are idle. You'll see I currently have 1. Dan, you want to log out? Or I guess I could log you out too.
No, yeah, well, you could, but I'll go ahead and go log myself out.
Okay, sounds good. So what we're going to do, I'm going to place a call in here to show you what these look like when calls come into the queues.
And don't forget to mute Kyle, because
I'm muted.
I know it's an exciting time of the year around here with baseball, and everybody likes, and now batting. All right, so but we want to avoid that repeat there.
Yeah, exactly, the echo. All right, so you'll see there's 1 active call in the queue. I can click on that and it'll show all the active calls, how long they've been waiting. I can click on callers waiting. In which you'll see there's a prioritize button. So for example, if Dan was in the queue earlier and a call dropped, he could let me know as a supervisor and manager, say, hey, if you see another call come in from this number, please prioritize it. So I could use that button to prioritize the call. Then you also have a transfer button, which I could pick up or transfer the call. So there's a couple ways I can hit transfer call. I can put in Dan's extension and click transfer, in which that will send the call straight to Dan. But I'm not going to do that here because there's a couple of other ways to do that too. So you're going to see I have no agents available. So who's going to grab that call? So I can click this edit agents bubble. I can find Dan, edit his agent, and make him online. And as soon as I press save, that call will be presented to Dan because that'll make him active in the call queue. But I'm not going to do that because there's one more place to do that. Down over here on the right, you'll see Dan over here. I can view his stats. I can click this button here to see the queues that he's a part of. So if I click this button here, you'll see I have different queues that Dan's part of. I can go here, make him online. And once again, once I hit save, he'll receive that call that's waiting in the queue. We're not going to do that because we're going to do this one other way. I'm actually going to come down here to contacts. and I want to message Dan and ask him to log in to grab the call. So I find Dan here. I can click his little message button, and I'm going to say, Dan, can you grab a call in queue? Send that message to Dan, and Dan's now going to show you his screen.
So here I am, guys, and I'm logged into our web phone. And I can see here that the manager supervisor just said, Dan, can you grab a call in queue? You can see that he's asked me that twice now. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to come down here. Last time I gave him some thumbs up emojis. This time I'm just going to give him a big happy face and let him know that I'm going to do that. Now, okay, what queue? Well, so as an agent here, I can see that there's in the customer service 1 queue, there is a call waiting. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and log in. And then in just a moment, that call is going to present itself to me and come through. Okay, so while we wait for that to happen, it just depends on where it is in the cycle, guys, because if where the timeout is set before I'm going to receive that phone call. So there's that call coming in. All right, and I'll go ahead and answer it. And I'm going to go ahead and throw it on mute just to make sure that we don't get that feedback loop. And I'll be back in a second to show you a couple other features. But for now, I'm going to go ahead and give this back to Kyle.
Yeah, so now that Dan's on an active call, I can live monitor that call. So there's a couple places to do it. I can click on active calls here, and I can click this listen button, or I can come down over here to Dan's name on the right. I can click this monitoring button here. So I'm going to click that, and I'm going to bring my web phone up over here. You'll see that I'm currently monitoring the call. And as you'll see here in the portal, I enter in just listen only mode. So I can just hear the call and nobody else can hear me. I can fully join the call, and therefore all parties can hear me, or I can whisper to Dan only. So if I click on whisper, you'll see I have the option to join the call or go back to listen only mode. So go back to listen only mode, then I can click join call, and now I'm fully participating, and I can go back to listen only mode as well. So that is how you can live monitor a phone call. I'm gonna hang that up and hand it off to Dan so he can go on to the next item.
Okay. So let's go ahead and, is that my screen that we're looking at now? Nope. That's my screen now. Okay, so there's that conversation that I just had. By the way, if somebody wasn't using the web phone and you wanted to IM them, if they were in the portal, they would see it here. They'd also get it on their mobile client. So there are a few different ways to do that. And now you can see that there is one agent idle, and that's me. Okay, and so this screen right here, as a call center manager, that tab that says call center is really kind of a supervisor screen, right? It's a general overall health check of what's happening in your queues. And what we're going to talk a little bit about now, or what I'm going to cover, is some of the reporting statistics and that sort of thing. So over here on the right, you can see that I have 0 callers waiting. Average wait time is in red right now because 1 minute and 31 seconds is a little bit excessive. We also have some abandoned calls. And that's because Kyle and I have been banging away and doing some testing. Average handle time was 46 seconds. So how many calls were answered? 5, and out of a call volume of 6. Now, if I clicked on one of these other queues, you're going to see these all turn green, right? Because no calls came into these 2 queues. We've only been testing today with the other queue. So those statistics are a combination over here when I don't have anything checked. And if I just check a single one, you'll see that those are what those are. Now I can adjust the grid settings here by coming here, right? And I can say, okay, I want to have a lower threshold and an upper threshold. And just so you know, those lower thresholds would be, okay, callers waiting. When does my lower threshold get hit? So if I put 1 in there, when there was a call waiting, that would turn orange, right? My upper threshold is 5, and that would turn red. Okay, so that's what the difference between the lower threshold and the upper threshold is. And you can see here that average handle time, but abandoned calls, you know, we have basically set you know, as in here, and then it's turned on. You've also got a service level. So this would be how many seconds, right? So how many seconds? So if you say, if you're a supervisor and you say, okay, I want to make sure that my calls are being answered within the first minute, and you put 60 seconds in here, that would be what that service level is. And that would give you just a quick snapshot of that. Okay. Well, I'm going to go ahead and just hit close. And we'll take a look at a few other things. So up here, you've got reports. And if you wanted to go to email reports, you would click here. on this, and you can click email reports, and it's going to ask you some very simple questions: frequency, monthly, weekly, daily, what time do you want it to be sent, summary, call queue, agent, and dialed number, and then what kind of statistics you want to see for each one of those for your queues, and then an email address that you want to send that to. If you want to send it to multiple folks, you can just click here. Okay, now those are going to be your emailed reports. All right, I'm just going to go ahead and close that. And I'm going to go ahead and click on reports though. So this is going to pull up a separate tab. As you can see, it changed. And so across the top here, we've got our queue stats, agent availability, dialed number stats, and abandoned calls. And down here, you can see our queues. Okay. So we can see that what our call volume is, how many calls that we've handled, what our service level is, average talk time, average answer speed. So if I was thinking to myself, by the way, anywhere that's blue, I can click on, and we will click on those in just a minute. I can also adjust my columns in here, to be slightly different things. So I've got my call volume, calls handled. If I wanted to see calls offered, I could. Voicemail, I could. Forwards, I could. So those are going to be calls that came in and got forwarded outside the queue to be handled out by someone else. You've got your, and then again, I don't want to beat up on this too much, but there's a lot here. So it depends on what it is you really want to see. So I'll just focus on these now. And so if I wanted to, and I wanted to come in and click on, well, my average talk time was this long, my service level is this much. And if I say, well, my service level is not very good, let's go figure out why. Okay, well, I've got some calls now that are outside of that, my normal service level. All right, and so the time in queue was 2 minutes. So that's above 75 seconds. This was 32 seconds, so it was under, right? And again, you start to see what these are all about. Now, if I wanted to follow and find out a little bit more about that call, I could, right? So I can click on Cradle to Grave, all right? And I can come in here and I can see what's happening, okay? And these calls are basically timing out. And then there was a call from the manager supervisor to transfer that call. And so the call came into me and rang, right? So when it says timed out waiting for digits, it's basically because our queue, just so you know, was basically offering the person the ability to get a call back or to leave a message if they wanted to. They didn't press anything, so they returned to the queue. Okay, and that's what you're seeing up there. And so then the call was answered by me. Okay, and then all of a sudden Kyle jumped in and started monitoring that phone call. And he picked it up on his web phone and started monitoring the call. And so you can see all of that, received request to listen. And so again, it's all built right in here. You can kind of get a feel for what's happening within these phone calls. So queue stats. Now let's talk a little bit about timeframes on stats. I can go back as far as I want. I would ask that you never try to run like a year worth of data if you have a busy call center. Try to limit those sets a little bit. But if I wanted to see so far this month, I could come up here and just change the stats. You're going to see that this doesn't change a lot, but it changes a little as we were coming in here and doing some testing and prep for the webinar. So we've added some additional phone calls now. And you can see on what days we did some pretty extensive testing on the 16th. We did a little bit on the 22nd. And then, yesterday we did some as well. Sorry about the cough, guys. So that's there. And now if I wanted to, I could come across the agent stats. And what you will notice is that it's pulling agent stats for the full month because that was the date range that I put in. So as you jump from tab to tab, it's going to maintain that date range. And so I can kind of now get a feel for, okay, who picked up the call. And so unfortunately, these are all zeros because I don't manage myself and I'm the one who picked up the phone call. I apologize for that. I'm the way that we have it configured is a little wacky. But what you can see in here is, you've got on the left-hand side, just so you know, is everything that has to do with the queue itself. So calls that were handled through the queue, extension, department, calls handled, talk time, average talk time. On the right are individual stats for the agent. So individual outbound, all their calls that they made outbound, and then all of their inbound calls. Now their inbound calls, this data here would reflect their call queue calls, but it would also reflect any inbound calls that they received outside of the call queue itself. All right. And what you can see here is that the supervisor has now increased in volume because that's Kyle's user that he was testing with. And you can see he has 27 outbound attempts, 22 outbound answered. And again, these are, but nothing in the queue. So he wasn't receiving phone calls in the queue, but he was making outbound calls and then inbound calls. Okay. And that was just some testing that Kyle was doing. Okay. Now, anytime you want to know what one of these means, you can come up and say, okay, here we go. There's a little I there. Inbound calls today, number of attempted calls inbound to an agent. Okay. And so you can get a feel for that. Now, we do have a question coming in from Eileen, and Eileen is asking us, I can't get to that right now, but excuse me, Eileen is asking us, I have some questions about this. By all means, when we get off this webinar, reach out. We'll reach out to you, but for any of your other folks who have questions, please just reach out to support@votacall.com through any of the avenues. You can call our 800 number. Again, and just say I was on the webinar and I have some questions about supervisor settings or just in general, reporting, etc. And what we'll do is we'll book a time with you to have some conversations. Eileen will reach out to you as soon as this is done and start that conversation. Okay. All right. Okay. And Tracy, just so Kyle answered Tracy's call privately, but Tracy asked, do people know when we're monitoring their calls? And the answer is they do not. Okay, that is a supervisor function. We do not have anything built in to make it so that happens either. So I'll go ahead and answer that one before anybody asks it. Okay, so that is your agent status. Now, agent availability. Excuse me, I'm trying to click on it on the other screen. Wrong screen. Agent availability is going to be here. And again, you can see Kyle was available and then he wasn't available. This will also show you things if people use statuses, custom statuses like lunch, webinar, a break, any of those, they will also show up in here. And you can actually print this and download it. So dialed number stats, people always ask, well, what is dialed number stats? Okay, that's going to be what numbers did people dial to get to your queues. Some folks will have an 800 number that rings to the same queue as a local number. And if they wanted to be able to understand how much traffic came through the 800 number and how much traffic came through over here, maybe you advertise a phone number in a publication and you just want to understand how many calls came in through that. Maybe you're using Google, right? And so Google asks you for a phone number so that you can see how many people called you from Google or how many leads came in from Google. Well, reach out to us and say, hey, can you put my Google, I want to get a specific number just to use for Google advertising, right? So when they advertise through Google, they will be able to tell exactly how many calls came in through Google. Google might tell you that 50 calls came in. By the way, when you say Google over and over again, it's one of those strange words. It also makes me think of Zoolander, you Googly. And that's just the way my brain works, and I apologize for that, folks. So a call comes in from Google, you can track that. So maybe Google tells you 35 calls came in, but you guys only see 30, and you can say, hey, Google, listen, we only got 30 phone calls that actually came in. So what happened to those other 5? All right, so there's some ways to try to understand that. And again, it's blue numbers, you can click on them, right? So if you just want to understand what's happening, there you go, click on that, and you get a feel for it. Okay. And then last but not least is going to be abandoned calls. All right. So these are going to be calls that came in and were dropped because the person abandoned. I do recommend that you take this phone number, the phone number, and actually go look for it, under call history, and we'll talk about that in a minute. But you can copy it from here, go to call history, and search for that call, and that way you get a feel for did they actually call back in and talk to somebody else again. Okay. But what I'm going to do now is I'm just going to go back to call center right up here. So I was on reports. I'm going to go to call center. Okay. And we're going to talk just a little bit about, let's go back into settings and look at, I mentioned just a minute ago, custom statuses or statuses. So if there's custom things that you want, like maybe somebody is taking email, or in Jim's case, maybe somebody is working front desk, right? And you just want to know, okay, so we're going to go ahead and add that one. So that means they're at the front desk, so they're logged out of the queue. So that when you run that other report that I was showing you, you get some feeling about when somebody was working at the front desk and not taking appointment calls. All right, so maybe that just means the front desk is busy that day, or who knows. But there, just wanted to show you guys that. Let's talk very quickly about Vision Analytics Board. So this is the next place where we can do some reporting. And it wants me to log back in again. Just give me one sec. Sorry guys, you would never see the screen because you would not have all these accounts.
I think it was the very bottom, up that one.
That's the one I want. Okay. All right. And so what we can see here is, we can see average talk time, how many calls were handled, calls in the last 8 hours. I think Kyle might be better off showing you this than me because, again, I don't monitor me and I took all those phone calls. Average talk time, how many calls were handled, etc. So think about these boards, and this is the stock board. Let's take a look. Okay, that's a little bit better. Okay. So there's those 27 inbound attempted calls that I just showed you on the report for Kyle under agent stats. There's those 23 inbound answered calls. Okay. And so you start to get a feeling for data. The nice thing about this, though, is this can be put on a wallboard inside your office, on a TV, on a screen. Gives everyone a feeling like, hey, there's a whole bunch. Some folks have like one metric up in there, and that's like how many calls are waiting, so that people know like, hey, I need to jump on a call. Maybe it's how many calls are waiting in triage, how many calls are waiting in appointments, how many calls are waiting in billing. Who knows what you're doing, right? So the other nice thing about this is it's a web page. So I can come up here and I can click share board, and I can give specific groups of people or anyone in the organization, I can give them a link, all right? That public link, by the way, is how you get it on a TV inside of like a space, but I can give someone a link. So maybe it's a supervisor that wants to see their board and there's another supervisor or two. And so one supervisor manages it, they give the link to the other supervisor. Maybe it's that somebody in the C-suite wants to see how many calls we take every day. And so rather than email them a report, you just give them a link. They have it saved as a favorite on their browser. Whenever they log into their computer, they can just click on it. It shows them how many calls today, how many calls this week, right? It shows them how many calls this month. And they can look at all that information just very simply in one place. So again, it's a pretty powerful tool. And if you have any questions about it or you want us to help you get those set up, just let us know and we can do that. Okay. Again, I don't want to beat this up for too long because there's quite a bit still to cover here, and we're running out of time. So this is this page here. All right. Again, Kyle went over the agents portion of this. Now, the reason I think it's important for you guys to know, the reason that we do have it set up so that some folks don't see some things and some folks see other things is just to give you a feel. A supervisor can be limited by the office manager to what they have the ability to see, what cues they can see, what department they can see, right? So they can see specific people only in certain departments, and so we can fine tune what you guys have the ability to view right in there. So Kyle, I'm going to hand it back off to you because I know we still have a lot to cover. So
sure thing. All right, so we're going to take a look at the agents tab. So the person that has the office manager admin level can set what agents you see here. So you can see agents either by site, queue, or department, or a combination of all three. So you'll see here, anybody that's a supervisor, I can't access their extension as a supervisor, but anybody that's a call center agent, I can click their name here. And now I have access to that particular user's settings. So I can rename an extension if I had to. I can update an email address, reset a voicemail pin for an agent. I can come to answering rules. In this is where you can find some call forwarding options. If I hit edit here, you got do not disturb option, and then you have call forwarding options, which really won't play too much of a role in a call center environment. But if you had to take care of an agent, agent called out sick or something and just needed somebody to cover their calls, you can forward their calls. Click checkbox and it'll say, we're going to forward all these calls to Dan today. When I put in Dan's extension number, you're going to see all these different options. I can either select his particular web phone, his desk phone, mobile app, etc. I'm going to click user because the user is going to send the calls to all of his devices. And I can click save and therefore any calls to extension 756 will ring right to Dan. You can also allow and block calls. So this is a blacklist, whitelist, so you can block numbers from calling your extension directly here as well. Then you have the voicemail tab. You can manage voicemail greetings. You can set your voicemail to email options here as well. We'll cover more of this when we do the end user webinar. You can also manage users' phones too. You can manage their buttons on their phones as well. Another thing you can do, I'm going to come back to agents so you see the whole list. If I hover over an agent, I can also masquerade and access their end user portal, just like you saw when we looked at the manager personal extension there. I can make them online, offline, toggle the queues from here as well as back at the manager supervisor level. So I'm going to go click End Masquerade to go back to my portal. And that is the agents tab. Anything else you want to add on this one, Dan?
No, I think that covers it.
Excellent. Then we'll take a look at the call queues tab. So here's where another place you can manage the call queues, but this is where you can add intro and comfort messages. So if I hover over a queue, I can click on the music on hold. You'll see there's different music audio files here. So you can have a basic ringtone or an audio file. So when people call in or access the queue, they'll hear the music on hold instead of just a basic ringtone. Over here, we have intro messages. So I can add one. I can click add message. I can do wait status updates. I can just do a message with a text to speech, type in whatever I want folks to hear. I can upload a recording, or I can record one live and just have it call me at my extension. And you can set the intervals too. So you get a couple custom messages here, and I can set the interval for how often they play. I can set it for 15 seconds all the way up to 2 minutes. And that, if we come back to the call queues, just another place too to edit the settings. If we click on that, you have your different route types that Dan was mentioning earlier. You can do round robin, tiered round robin, linear hunt. If you hover over the eye, it'll explain exactly what they do. You have pre-queue options. So if you're going to be in a true call center environment, you're going to normally want to require agents. So therefore, if they log out, everybody's logged out. It'll follow the forward if unavailable rule. So whether you want this to go to another queue or an auto attendant or a voicemail. We can come to in-queue options, and we can set how long the queue rings for. We can enable a voicemail on the queue, and we can manage that from the user level. And you can tell it where to go if unanswered. So if you have agents available, but nobody answers the call, you can tell it to go to a voicemail, an auto attendant, or another call queue. Anything else to add on that one, Dan?
Well, we had a couple questions come in, so we'll go ahead and just bring those up. So Tracy asked about music on hold. So we don't have, so if you go over to your music on hold tab, we don't have specific music on hold built in. So if I come down here, you'll see that we have a lot of different ones built in here, but those are ones that we've added. So to add music, you just click here and it's going to pull up a window. You can browse for anything that's on your computer. However, if you come up to apps and you go into here, you'll find the music on hold library. And if you click on that, we have added some music in here that you can listen to. You can listen to them right here, play them, and then you can download them. Okay, so that you can put them on your computer in order to then upload them, right? So here's a little shameless self-promotion. I'm in a band called Old Jack, and this is, I authorized some of my music. Go ahead, it's playing right now so that I can hear what it sounds like. And if I wanted to, then I could come over here and hit download, and that's going to drop into my downloads. So that's a song by my band called Chorus Line. And then what I could do is I could come over to here. I really appreciate you asking me this, by the way. No, I get to shamelessly self-promote. I didn't know I was doing that today. But I could click add music. I could go browse for my downloads and just upload that and pull it in, and it would be in here. All right, and now I can reorder any of these that I want to, depending on how I want to do that. I don't know what's in my downloads folder, guys, so I didn't want to go ahead and click on that. There could be customer information in there, so I didn't want to go ahead and do that. So So I hope that answers your question. So that we have this library. We did a whole webinar on it though. So if you go down to apps and you click on links and you go to Votacall One webinars, there is actually a webinar on building custom music on hold, custom intro greetings, and then setting all this stuff up is available for you. And then Susanna just asked about some of the discrepancies and some of the data on between what I was showing and Kyle was showing. And again, it has to do with the way that we're set up. I'm happy to review that with you afterwards, Susanna, though, if you want to know, because I'm not monitoring certain queues because I'm pushed into certain departments. We wanted to show the sort of how data could be missing from one person over to another. I guess that is confusing. Perhaps we'll change that for tomorrow. So I do appreciate the question. Okay. No, Kyle, I think that covers it. We can move on.
Yep. Call history and sentiment analysis.
Okay. So I'll go ahead and click on call history. So here we go. So we've got a bunch of phone calls. They all came in from Kyle today. I don't think we have recording. Let's see. I don't have the ability to block. I am not logged in as a supervisor. I think you're going to want to show this.
So that we have to get it enabled at the supervisor manager level with support. So you're not going to see the access the call recordings in there. You'd have to access each agent individually to see those right now, but we can make that change.
So we've got, what I'll do is I'll jump out of here and move into a different group. So just give me 1 second, guys. I'll move into Votacall. So it's the easiest way to do this when we have sentiment analysis turned on there as well. So hang on. One sec. All right, guys. Oh, I see what's wrong. Sorry, guys. It's pulling up Authenticator on another screen. Just give me 1 second.
And we'll wait for Dan. If you haven't jumped over to the polls there, we appreciate it. We take the poll, and we'll be back next month with another webinar.
Okay. Sorry, guys. I'm just having to go through using my SSO to log into my account. So just give me 1 sec.
It just means it's really secure.
All right. I'll go ahead and share my screen again. Okay, so here we are, and I'm logged back in now, and I've come all the way across. I'm logged in as an office manager, which is what Kyle was referring to. So because, again, I don't have the authority to monitor Kyle, and we should change that for tomorrow. I was unable to see his phone calls. So what I've done is I've logged in as an office manager, also sentiment analysis. But what I'm going to do now is I'm just going to take a look at call history very quickly. And so what you've got over here is the ability. So if I had a recorded call, I could listen to that phone call. Okay. And if I click on there, then I'm going to get, so this is the call's not available. Callers can forward the voicemail. Person you're trying to reach is not available. At the tone, please record your message. So that is the transcript. And I have a downloaded transcript. So we have a couple options when it comes to recording phone calls. For those of you guys not using it, we can just record calls. Okay, and that is included with the Votacall One solution. We also have sentiment analysis and transcription, which is what you're looking at here. So if you didn't have this feature turned on, then you would only see the call recording. You'd be able to listen to it and download it, save it for later. In this particular case, what we have is we have a transcription attached to that as well. And then we also have a summary, which is this would summarize the whole call. And then we have topics. Okay, we did a full webinar on this last month. Again, I don't want to spend too much time deep diving into this. So it is something that you guys can take a look at. Again, if you go to apps and then links and then the webinars, you will see the one on, there it is. Kyle just threw it up on the top. Thanks, Kyle. You're getting good at that.
You're welcome.
So I have to come back over here though and click later. All right, and then back over here. All right, so what I'm going to do now though is I'm going to click columns for all the supervisors out there, and I'm going to look at sentiment, closing sentiment, and topics. And then disposition and reason are going to also be, those are disposition codes that can be added by agents at the end of a call. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to click off this now that I've added those columns. And what you've got here now is you've got your sentiment, how much of it was positive, how much was neutral, and how much was negative. Okay. And then you've also got your closing sentiment, which is positive, negative, or neutral. So if there's calls that you felt like you needed to listen to, you could. You've also got the ability to look at topics and phone setup. Now, what we've done is we've taken this information out of here and we've made it a lot more useful, and we've put it in our intelligence dashboard. So I'll go ahead and just click on that. And again, I'm going to need to cross through some stuff here. Give me one sec. Okay, and here we are. And again, we do cover this in another webinar, but what you've got now is you've got a top topics board in here, and anything in here is actually clickable. So if I came over, so phone system information has been said 4 times today. Mobile has been said twice today. Avaya support has been said twice today. Support team has been said twice today. Okay, so you've got different words that have been said, and as you look through this, you've got last week, this week, yesterday, today. Again, I'm not going to spend too much time here, but the idea here is that you can get and view calls. You can look at a call summary, okay, and then you can view a transcript, okay, and it'll launch that as well, and then you can get a perspective for overall sentiment. There's also some intelligence settings, which are places that we can focus on this. But just so you know, if there is a negative phone call, I get an email, okay, because I'm one of the people in here. So it's going to notify me of negative sentiment calls. It'll notify me of certain words that I'm looking for it to notify me of. Like if someone says the name of one of my competitors, it might notify me. If someone says the word supervisor, it might notify me. It will also listen for custom topics and things that you want to put in there. So this is a way that Votacall is able to enable AI for you, because obviously AI is doing this text transcription, AI is doing the summary, AI is doing the transcription itself. So and then we're able to, AI is pulling out your custom topics, etc. So this is, you know, people are always saying, how can AI, how does it involve in telecom? And again, we have some other stuff that we're working on there that's going to be pretty exciting that we're looking forward to showing you guys within the next few months. But you can go back and watch this webinar as well. So again, that was launched from the call, from the call history page. Now, if I was looking for a phone call in call history, I could come in here and click filter, look for specific phone calls. If I wanted to say, okay, in the last week, how many times have we talked to this phone number? You know, and I click go ahead and filter. I'm going to see all the times that call came up. Okay. Now, there's no sentiment, no closing sentiment, no topics, because calls aren't being recorded from this extension. Okay. All right. So back to the call center tab. This is actually us up in here. And I think what we need to do now, Kyle, is go back to your screen. So if you want to start driving again.
Sure. I think that covers everything.
Oh, We had,
No?
no, we had one more question. Sentiment analysis. Yeah, we've had that for a few months, Brian. You know, we're just kind of in the early stages. So if it's something that you want to talk about, reach out to us. We can walk you through setting it up. We do offer a free trial for that if it's something that you guys want to take a look at, and we can talk about how it works. And what pricing for that looks like. It is, we do include call recording with the Votacall One solution, but sentiment analysis is billed per minute, essentially because we're having to pay somebody an outside service to do all that analysis. But we do include the dashboard and that functionality as part of our service. Okay, so I guess that was a question. Any other questions from anybody? As Kyle said, you can run over to polls and you can let us know what you'd like to learn about. As we move through here, we did Office Manager a few months ago, and we just did Supervisor. So next would be Agent. And then we'll probably do one for end users as well, just your standard end user. Remember, everybody has access to the portal. And before we sign off, I will just say, again, as we always say, thank you guys so much for coming. You know, we are not one of the big box stores. We are not a big marketing engine. You know, so what we do is just try to let you guys know features and functionality that you guys have access to. And we really appreciate you guys coming here and listening to Kyle and I do this. We enjoy it, and so thank you for spending some time with us. If you want to learn about this even more, you can come again tomorrow. We love repeat guests. If not, this will be published on the website. Either this one or tomorrow's will be published on the website. We do give ourselves a chance to get better tomorrow. And again, thank you guys for coming. We appreciate it.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.